Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell is not happy with the quality of candidates that Republicans have been offering up for the 2022 midterms, and this story really feeds into the growing rift within the Republican Party as they try to figure out what direction they want to go in, with Donald Trump's political future being so uncertain at the moment. McConnell was speaking to reporters, and he sort of alluded to the fact that Republicans really should be shoo-ins to win both the House and the Senate. If you look at historical precedent with, we know, the president who's in power tending to have a bad first midterms, and also the economic indicators that aren't really going Democrats' way. But McConnell points out that some of these races tend to be up to the personalities of the people running in them, and he mentions, without saying specifically, that a lot of these candidates are weak and wacky. So here's what Mitch McConnell had to say.
I think there's probably a greater likelihood the House flips than the Senate. Senate races are just different. They're statewide. Candidate quality has a lot to do with the outcome.
So McConnell actually is quite right on this, which is not something that I often say about him, but I do think that he's right on both fronts here. Like, for one, Republicans are definitely more favored to win the House than they are the Senate. If you look at the 538 odds, Republicans currently have a 78% chance at winning the lower chamber, but only a 37% chance at flipping the upper chamber. And then, yeah, people generally want rational, competent, intelligent, sound-minded people representing them, regardless of political affiliation. That's sort of like the base level of things that people want in a candidate. And in a House race, maybe you can get away with having a wackier candidate because there's not going to be all that much attention paid to them. But in a Senate race, it's going to get statewide attention, maybe even national media coverage. So you can't always get away with having a wackier candidate. And if you look around the country, Republicans are not sending us their best, to paraphrase Donald Trump. In Georgia, you have former football player Herschel Walker, who often fails to make any sense at all, and he hasn't really expressed that he knows anything about policy matters. In Pennsylvania, you have Mehmet Oz, who is coming off as an elitist with $100 million, and a carpetbagger from New Jersey who just thinks that he's entitled to a Senate seat because he's been on television for so long. In Ohio, you have J.D. Vance, who went from being a somewhat reasonable Republican who wrote the Hillbilly Elegy to now being a full-on Trumpist who said that it's sometimes better for people in abusive relationships to stay together rather than get divorced. And then in Wisconsin, you have incumbent Ron Johnson, who often spreads disinformation about the 2020 election, voter fraud, and COVID vaccines. And Wisconsin's not a red state. It's a blue state, maybe a purple state, you could call it. So they're definitely far to the left of where Ron Johnson is. So it's not surprising that he's also losing in the polls. But at this point, there's no going back, right? You're stuck with most of these candidates. Most of the primaries have already happened at this point. There's about 10 toss-up races in the Senate this year. And I do think that Democrats are poised to win much of them and hold on to their majority, maybe even pick up a seat or two or three, which would be awesome because then we can talk about getting rid of the filibuster and pass more of our progressive wish list, assuming we're able to also hold on to the House. But that's a conversation for another day. But someone who did not like Mitch McConnell's statements were Fox News propagandist Sean Hannity. He said this about the statements.
Now, these same Democrats are painting Republican Senate candidates running in upcoming elections and midterms as cruel and out of touch. Well, apparently Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell is content to leave them out to dry and fend for themselves. How about you get out there, Mitch, and fight for your team? What's your agenda, Mitch? Or would you rather just sit by and watch helplessly as Democrats lie to your face, pass another $500 billion green energy boondoggle next year? Or is it maybe Mitch McConnell hates Donald Trump so much that he would probably rather see Trump-endorsed candidates lose because he thinks that might hurt Donald Trump? His time as a leader needs to come to an end.
And it is true that the NRSC, the National Republican Senatorial Committee, has already decided to pull back a lot of their TV ad spending dollars because they're just giving up on certain races. They don't think that there's any point in spending any money because it's just going to be a waste. They might as well consolidate that money and spend it in the places where they do have an actual shot at winning. And they've already spent a lot of their money over the summer. Now they're having a tougher time fundraising because the political winds seem to be going back in the Democratic direction. And so Republicans are in chaos right now. They thought that they would have this big red wave this midterms, and now it's not looking so great. We're seeing people turn on one another. We're seeing the rats leaving the ship. And as someone who is not on their side, I like to see it happening.